All right, you feather merchants. This story is actually about when I was working in Afghanistan and I got lost. I When I retired at the end of 2005, I submitted my resume to several companies who were working in Iraq and Afghanistan, and it took about didn't take long, and one of the companies ended up hiring me. And within, it was about 3 weeks after I retired, I was on a plane going from Washington, D.C. to Afghanistan. So, anyway, I worked in Kabul for about 6 months, and we were putting together a program where we taught a 10-week correctional academy. So we had to write all the lesson plans, PowerPoints, stuff like that. And we set up shop in Policharki prison, which is really a notorious prison. Thousands of convicts were killed there by the Russians, and then, of course, the Taliban took it over, and then the Americans took it over. Anyway, they told me. I asked the supervisor. I said they were going to send us to different provinces, and they were eventually hire enough advisors where there would be 3 advisors to each province. But we only had about 14 people at the time. Anyway, I asked him. I said if I could go to Herat, and he told me Herat was it's an ancient city, not far from Iran, and very interesting. A lot of history there. Anyway, he told me. He said that's the furthest province away from our headquarters here, and he said that's no problem. He said if there was a province further away, that's where you'd be going. So anyway, he approved me to go to Herat, and they took me to the airport, and they had a small plane there, and a South African pilot was flying the plane, and this guy, they said he was speaking English. It was like no English I ever heard before. I couldn't understand a word he said. Anyway, they told me, they said, what you're going to do is you're going to fly to Kandahar first. You stop off there, and then you're going to take off, and then you'll land in Herat. So I thought, okay. Well, somewhere along the line, they may have changed the flight plan or something, but we touched down in Kandahar, and hot. Boy, it was hot there. And I couldn't help notice that on the runway, they had gunmen lined. There was a gunman every, I don't know, 100 feet or whatever. And the pilot wanted to get out of there as soon as he could. So anyway, we let the passenger off. He was some special forces guy. He was all decked out. Anyway, he got off the plane, and so we take off again. And I'm thinking the next landing is going to be in Herat. Well, he touches down, and he announces it over the loudspeaker. And I could have swore he said Herat. But like I said, I couldn't understand a word this guy said. But I got no reason to believe that I'm in any place other than Herat. So I got off the plane. I get my gear, and I saw a building on the runway. And so I go in the building there, and I called the number they gave me and to talk to the team security leader. And he says, oh, you got to the airport kind of early. And he says, well, we'll be there to pick you up in about 20 minutes. That's okay. So I'm sitting there, and there was a colonel in that room with me with a couple of other officers, and they're listening to what sounded like a firefight in the mountains. There's a lot of gunfire in that. So I'm looking around, and there's big chunks of concrete that are missing, from where someone had shot rounds in there, and I couldn't help notice the metal door that led to the room was full of bullet holes. So anyway, I get this phone call. A guy, it's a security lead, and he said, "Where are you at?" He's at the airport, right? I said, "Where are you at?" And I explained to him, I'm in this small building right on the edge of the runway. He said, okay, stay there, we'll be right there. So about 2 minutes later, he calls me back. He says, "Is there someone there with you?" I said, "Yeah, there's a colonel here." He said, ask him where you're at. And well, I started thinking something's wrong. So I asked the colonel, I said, where am I at? He told me, we're in Herat. I never heard of Herat before. And I said, "You mean Herat?" He says, "No, I mean Herat." So I said, "Could you show me that on a map?" Because there was a big map on the wall. And I could see where Herat was. Real easy, near the Iranian border. Well, his finger went way, way down here to a place called Herat. And so the security guy is on the phone with me. So he's listening to this conversation. And so I get back on the line with him, and he told me, he says, "Jim, you're fucked." He said, "There's no way that we can drive down to Herat to get you, And he said, "I'm going to contact the people in Kabul and explain to them what happened." But he said, "I would advise you to try to hook up with the military because you're in a real bad spot." So I thought, okay. And I asked the colonel, I said, "Is there a base close here?" And he said, "Yeah, we got a FOB real close to the runway, and it's a forward observation base." And I later learned that they called that Fort Apache because it got attacked so much by the Taliban. So anyway, I asked him if he could get a driver over here to take me there to speak with the base commander. So he got a driver, and the guy takes me to the base commander, and I go in his office, and there were several officers in there with him. I don't know, they might have been having a meeting. And I told them who I was and why I was there. And after they got done laughing, they said, "You can stay here as long as you like." He said, "But I don't have a bed for you, He said, "What we're going to do is I'll get a cot and put it in the library, and you can stay there." And he told me where the chow hall was and what time they ate. And he says, "No problem about staying here." And but he said, "There's no bathroom in the library." He said, "You got to use those porta potties out there." And he said, "When you go outside at night," he said, "don't use a flashlight." Anyway, and then he told me, he said, "You might hear a lot of noise because they were going to fire mortars out of the base to discourage these idiots from attacking." So anyway, I get comfortable in the library, and there's an electrician in there, and he kind of got a kick out of me being lost there, and he had been there for a couple of weeks. He says, "You might as well relax. No one's going to come and get you." No one comes here. He says, I've been trying to get out of here for the last 3 weeks. So anyway, I finally was able to contact my supervisor back in Kabul. I was hoping they wouldn't be angry, but they were real nice about it. They said, we're working on getting you out of here, and there might be a way. There's a general up there that's supposed to take a helicopter to Herat. Maybe you can ride with him, you know. So anyway, that didn't pan out, and there was other tries, and that didn't pan out either. But anyway, getting back to using the porta potties, I get up in the middle of the night. I got to take a leak. So I open the door, and it is pitch black out there. I can't even see the hand in front of my face, much less find the porta potties. I just peed on a building, you know. Anyway, I get back in there, and what they ended up doing is someone from the Department of State diverted, I believe it was from there, diverted a UN plane to come and get me. And because they thought that there was a chance they were going to lose me, you know. So anyway, I don't know if it was the next day or it was 2 days. I can't remember exactly how many nights I stayed there. I don't think it was very long. But I was in the library, and this soldier came in and said there was a plane on the tarmac, and they're waiting for you. So I pack my gear up, and I go out there on the tarmac, and there's this pilot out there, and he's not happy. It's a UN plane, very small UN plane. So anyway, he told me, he says, look, he said, I'm not supposed to be here. He says, you go back. When you go to Herat, we're going to drop you off. He said, I don't want you saying anything to anybody on how you got here. So I said, okay. So I get on the plane, and it's like Las Vegas heat in the summertime. I'm sweating. And I get on the plane, and there was a few guys there that they were all in suits, and everyone's got sweat rolling down their faces, and they're all eye fornicating me. You know, there's no one happy to see me, and they're thinking, you know, they're not happy anyway. So I get on a plane, and we land in Herat. So the security team picked me up and drove me to the base. And by the time I get to the base, it's a small camp. It's like it was a Dynacorp camp where they were training police. And there was some military that would come in there periodically to train Afghans. And there were Italians. There was an Italian ISAF base that was very close, and they would come there during the day, and they would train people. And Blackwater, they were there. It was an interesting place, but it was very small. I think it only took 8 to 10 minutes to walk around the inside perimeter of the compound. And the compound was rock wall all the way around it with a main gate, and there was 4 gun towers on each corner, and they were manned by Nepalese gunners, and they had automatic weapons in there, so they could take care of business real quick. So anyway, we would get attacked periodically, maybe once a month, something like that. A month and a half go by, and it'd invariably be in the middle of the night. They'd fire rockets into our base, because on top of the rock wall was a sniper screen, and it's just a fence with a green covering, and you see it in some of the videos I posted where I was training these guys, and so they can't see where anything's at inside there. But it's not a big base, so if you aim your rockets in the middle of it, you're going to hit something. So they would generally get 2 or 3 rounds off before the machine gunners would open up on them, and then they would drop down into the ditch and run back wherever they came from. And actually, they were attacking us from a small village right outside our base because it would be in the middle of the night, and you'd hear, once the gunfire stopped, it'd be about 15 minutes later, you'd hear the dogs barking. Well, they're going into that village. So they had a house there for sure, where they're attacking us. And anyway, it was quite an experience. Oh, and when we actually taught a 10-week academy there. And I was the first, well, I wasn't the first one. There was a guy ahead of me that started teaching the classes until I got there. And of course, when I got lost, that prolonged his stay in Herat. But anyway, he left when I got there. So I'm the only guy there. And we'd hired 2 interpreters, Afghan interpreters, outstanding guys. These 2 guys, they were educated. They trained in martial arts. It was really God sent that we found these guys. Anyway, I taught the first 10 weeks with these 2 interpreters by myself. And we were working 6-day weeks, 6 days a week. And can you imagine spending 8 hours a day teaching these different courses to people that don't understand you? and you have to speak slow enough where your interpreter can interpret as you're speaking. And I would go back to my room, and I thought, this is too much for me. I thought, after this is a year contract, and I was going to leave after this. I said, I can't do this. But anyway, I stuck it out, and eventually we got Afghans we trained Afghans to teach the classes, and eventually they felt comfortable enough to take over the classes. And we had 2 other advisors come there, and so there was 3 of us there. And it made life so much easier. And we were basically supervising the people that were doing the instructing. Anyway, what an incredible experience that was. But the most of the guys that were working there, the police trainers and everything, they had heard about me because of the fact that I got lost, and they were waiting to see who this guy was that got off at the wrong stop, So that was pretty funny. I worked with Dagenais had some outstanding ex-police officers working there. I met a lot of the guys from Blackwater. There were retired Navy SEALs or Navy SEALs that did at least 10 years with them. They had fought in Iraq and Afghanistan. They had incredible experience. Every soldier of fortune on this planet was either in Iraq or Afghanistan at the time. And I was probably a lot older than most of them. And so anyway, I got more stories about Afghanistan, and I'm going to sign off, and I hope you enjoyed the story.